It must have been quite an interesting sort of thing to hear that there'd be no less than 4 active wrestlers who would all be vice presidents of a professional wrestling company. Because I'm sure as you started wrestling in the early '90s, all the horror
Yes.
stories of active wrestlers who are booking themselves
Right.
and they always end up on the.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you listen? I know it's a different era and everything, but how do you take that when you first heard it, and has it worked out?
It hasn't. You always get nervous when that happens. I mean, you can't help it. And especially since one of them is, son of Cody or of Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes. I see a lot of Cody's stuff that he does, booking wise at least, is straight out of the old man's playbook. And I'm not saying that it's all bad, but a lot of what I see in AEW, especially coming from stuff that Cody does himself, is straight out of the Dusty Rhodes playbook. It's alarming, but what alarmed me more was not so much that these guys have this executive producer credit and, let's say, this creative input. To me, what kind of scared me was the lack of experience that a lot of these guys have. I know the Young Bucks were certainly one of them, and Kenny Omega was one of them, and I don't know who else, minus that and Cody, and I don't know. There's probably another one in there, maybe Jericho. But like me, for example, if you gave me any kind of executive producer credit or input, I would be, I'm going on 29 years in this October this year. I'll be 29 years in the business, and I wouldn't feel that I had the knowledge to do it. Right. And I've been everywhere there could be. I've been all over the world, wrestled for WWE on 3 different occasions in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and in 2006 in the rebirth of the fake ECW. And even with all that, and of course being in ECW, TNA, Japan, I still wouldn't feel qualified because it is such a big deal, and it's not for everybody. Not everybody could write and be creative on television. And for guys with so little experience to be given the keys to the kingdom and produce a 2-hour show with commercial breaks and breaking down segments and really making stuff have to flow, right? This is episodic television. It's no different than watching a good drama on television, supposed to be anyways, where stories and everything kind of intertwines and you leave the fans wanting more, where this is a lot of times the farthest thing from the case. A lot of times these things are contrived, and from the main event picture, which looks at times really fun and good, to and you put it to compare it to the first opening segment of younger talents, it's like night and day. It's like we're seeing 2 extremes on a 2-hour show of talents, and they just have a lot of work ahead of them right now to kind of even everything out, because they're really showing their lack of experience, if not there's not a better word out there, I don't know, but. And they shouldn't, because they have enough good people there. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Jerry Lynn, Billy Gunn. They have a ton of great, Jim Ross. They have a professional crew. I don't know what's up, but I do hear this. I do hear some whisperings that a lot of the younger talent in AEW don't want nothing to hear from the older generation. It's like they feel like they know better, that we're out of touch, and that's it. They're kind of doing their own thing, which I find, I find weird, because we were always taught to, you don't have to do exactly what the older generation did, but at least take it into consideration and kind of work with it and learn from it, not just dismiss it. So,
When you were 1 or 2 years in the business, did you do the same thing? Just completely ignore the advice from the older generation?
Brother, I was scared to talk, even on my second run. After I was ECW champion and I went back to do X Factor, I was still intimidated to say anything to guys like Undertaker or Triple H or stuff like that. Maybe to a fault. I played the nice guy and humbled myself. So there's a mix here. There's there's somewhere you can meet in between, and you don't have to be extreme to one way or another. But yeah, I showed too much respect for my peers, and these guys aren't showing enough, it seems.
Do you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Enough is enough! Rudy Poo Kenya! I had him writhing in pain from my sharpshooter.
Rocky!
I am not your candy ass.
I kicked your leg out of your leg.
The Rock